So first I want to thank the candidates that we interviewed over the last 2 weeks. I want to thank our search committee for their time and their energy in what was an exhaustive search. We said we were going to cast a wide net, and that's exactly what we did. I want to thank Kevin and George for their support and their leadership. Our entire organization is fired up about Ben Johnson. Throughout the entire process, we came away really impressed with his passion, his leadership, his football IQ, and his vision for winning football. The great thing is when you make calls to his teammates in North Carolina, staff at Boston College, Miami, and Detroit, you realize he's an even better person, father, and husband. Without further ado, I want to introduce Ben Johnson, head coach of the Chicago Bears.
Good morning. It is an honor to stand before everyone today as the head coach of the Chicago Bears. I would be remiss not to acknowledge a number of people that have helped me along the way here, starting with where I just came from. Sheila Ford Hamp and her family have been incredible for the last 6 years of my life, making Detroit and the Lions organization a great place for me and my family and raising our kids. Dan Campbell is more than just a colleague to me. He is a friend. He is a mentor. He is a man that trusted me when he didn't need to, and I will forever be in his debt and respect the heck out of him. He's an amazing person. One time someone told me he is a unicorn, and they could not be more true words than that. I appreciate Rod Wood, Mike Disner, the rest of the executives there in Detroit. They were a pleasure to work with, and it was one of the most memorable times being able to turn that franchise around. The offensive staff in Detroit. There might have been some tough nights, there might have been some tough game days, but I do appreciate your support, your understanding, and really your camaraderie at the end of the day. The players, man, this is one of the hardest things to do is to leave a group of men that you love. And I will forever be impacted by St. Brown, Goff, Ragnow. I can keep going on and on and on. One of the reasons you get into coaching is to make the people around you better. But the truth is that those group of guys, they made me a better coach and a better person. They inspired me every single day, and I love driving into work to work with those men every single day. One of the biggest pieces of the puzzle for me is my family, my wife. You have been the rock. I know it has not been easy. One of the most selfish things I've ever done is to ask you to come on this adventure. And you did it full steam ahead, no ifs, ands, or buts. And you've become a fantastic mother and such an incredible partner. This is not my journey, this is our journey. Thank you so much along the way. Rick Smith and Priority Sports, thank you for making this transition seamless for me. Things happened fast once the season ended, and you were able to provide all the necessary information to make an informed decision. Thank you for that. With that being said, I want to thank the search committee here in Chicago. It was clear to me from the beginning that the priorities were straight. There's only one way for us to have success here, and that's the right people in place. George, thank you for trusting the people that you've hired. It is perfectly clear that you're willing to provide all the resources necessary for us to build a sustained winner here in Chicago. Kevin, I appreciate your support as well. You're going to play an integral part of everything that we have going on. And Ryan, thank you so much for trusting and believing in me. What you and your staff have already built here is so enticing. This roster is absolutely loaded with talent already, and I look forward to building it with you. You and I, as we've already talked about, we're going to be in lockstep every step of the way. I cannot wait to work with you. I told this search committee that I wanted this job. And there's several reasons why I wanted this job. The first is this place. For the last 10 plus years, my family and I have been coming up for a Cubs series every summer. And it doesn't take long to realize that this place is special. These people are special. This is exactly where I wanted to raise my family, my kids. I know we're going to have so much fun living up here in Chicago. All right? Number two is this roster that Ryan's already built. It is stocked, it's loaded. Everyone wants to talk about the quarterback, and Caleb, I'm excited to work with you, but it's going to take more than just you. And there are a lot of pieces already in place. And I can't wait to get to work with the rest of you guys. And then finally, I wanted to stay in this division. I know this is the toughest division of football right now. There's 3 teams that made the playoffs this year. I've got tremendous amount of respect for the coaches and the players in this league, having competed against them for the last 6 years. Dan Campbell, Kevin O'Connell, you're talking about 2 guys that are up for Coach of the Year awards as the season ends here. And to be quite frank with you, I kind of enjoyed beating Matt LaFleur twice a year. With that being said, I do have a message here for the players. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. The bar has been set higher than it's ever been set before. The only way for this team and for you as individual players to reach your potential is to be pushed and to be challenged. And that's exactly what I and my staff plan on doing. We are going to push, we're going to challenge. And along with those high standards, there's also going to be a high level of support as well. Everybody in this building is going to be all about helping you guys out. How do you become the best versions of yourselves? That's what it's going to be about from start to finish. When you walk in, it'll be crystal clear the communication, the structure, and the consistency, and that will never waver. Our mission starting this spring is to win and to win now. I get goosebumps right now just thinking about being the head coach of the Chicago Bears. I know exactly what this role and this responsibility requires, and I cannot wait to get to work. Thank you.
All right, if you have questions, you can raise your hand. We'll get to you with microphones. Please state your name and outlet before you ask the questions. Dan.
Dan Weeder from the Chicago Tribune. Welcome to Chicago. Saturday afternoon, you walked into Ford Field to coach a playoff game, and by Monday afternoon, you were agreeing to a deal here to be the coach of the Chicago Bears. Can you take us through the whirlwind of that stretch for you, and then also why it accelerated the way it did?
Yeah. A tremendous wave of emotions follows up when your season gets ended like it did for us. I'm still reeling through some of those feelings myself right now. It's a hard thing to do when you're around a group of guys as committed as we were to not only winning a division title, but getting the number 1 seed in the playoffs, but following through by winning a Super Bowl and coming up short the way that we did. I'm still reeling through that, what I could have done differently, of course. As that game ended and exit meetings happened, information was brought to me about potential situations, and it did not take long for me to realize where I wanted to continue my career.
With that, Ben, when you were exploring the Bears as a possible place to jump to for yourselves, what questions did you want answered from this organization to assure that it was the right fit for you?
Yeah, I think to me, I talked about alignment last year when I came back to Detroit, and that was really important to me, was to see that the structure set up was conducive to winning. All those questions were answered throughout the interview process. The guys in front of me right here, George, Kevin, Ryan, I believe in them, and I really believe that we will be able to turn this place around.
Hey, Ben. Adam Hogue, CHGO. As you said, Dan Campbell is a unicorn, but I'm curious what you were able to learn from him as you observed him that you feel like you're going to be able to bring to your game as a head coach here in Chicago.
Yeah, Dan Campbell is truly authentic from the moment he steps into a building to when he leaves. He's entirely him, and I know everyone talks about being yourself, but he certainly embodied that over the last 4 seasons I was with him. So I will forever take that with me, along with his ability to empower the people around him. I've seen him totally delegate responsibilities, have complete trust in the people that he hires, and allow them to do their jobs. That's something that I plan on taking with me, and will do the same.
Ben, to your left. Jason Leisure with the Chicago Sun-Times. Two-part question for you about the quarterback, about Caleb. I'd read interviews that you did where you talked about being very selective about jobs, looking for a place that would set you up to succeed. And my question is, how much of a factor was your belief in Caleb, your assessment of him, and what's your starting point for how you're going to coach him to play the position?
Listen, it's clear that modern football in the NFL is quarterback-driven. That is no secret. You can look at analytics. Right now, quarterback success is a higher predictor of winning and losing than turnover ratio, which it's been for 20-plus years, okay? That's changed. So there's no doubt Caleb played a large component into my decision. He is a phenomenal talent that had, as many quarterbacks do, an up-and-down rookie year. Where I see my role is as a supporter of him. This offense will be calibrated with him in mind. We're going to build this thing. This is not simply a dropping of a previous playbook down on the table and starting there. Nope. We're ripping this thing down to the studs, and we're going to build it up with him first and foremost, and then with the pieces around him next. I really look forward to challenging him and pushing him, as I said before, to continue to grow and develop.
Hey, Ben, Courtney Cronin, ESPN. On that note, you looked at Caleb and said it's going to take more than you. And you probably better than anybody else know about the importance of the offensive line, but how long it took Detroit to build that unit. Is that something you can realistically replicate here with your goals in mind?
Yeah, I think offensive line is certainly an area that we need to get better play from going forward, something that Ryan and I have already talked about. We will develop a plan of attack for how to get that done, but I'm looking forward to getting an excellent offensive line coach into the building to help develop the young talent that we already have on the roster, and we will certainly talk about acquiring talent to bolster that unit as well. But I was certainly blessed the last few years with the men that I worked with, and that was something I would love to replicate here as well.
Hey, Ben. Patrick Finley with the Chicago Sun-Times. You talked about alignment. Specifically, how are you aligned with Ryan? And how do you learn that when you're having a Zoom conversation and you don't know the man too intimately because of this process going as fast as it did?
Yeah, so here's what I'd say is Ryan did his homework. People on my end did our homework as well. So Ryan had left Boston College right when I was getting there. There's some shared history there. There's a lot of connections that may or may not have already been put together that people understand. I truly believe in the character and integrity of this man. In terms of true alignment, you're going to have to talk to the powers that be here. They can fill you in on that structure, but we are going to be locked at the hip and connected every step of the way with all the decisions that are made.
Ben, Matt Zahn from CBS Chicago right here.
Gotcha.
You've talked about before spending part of your offseason kind of taking a look at the big picture, what it takes to be a head coach. You know, there have been many great coordinators that haven't turned into great head coaches. What did you learn about what it takes to make that transition and what it takes to be a good head coach?
Yeah, the role and responsibilities are completely different, and I'm well aware of that, and I know that a lot of coordinators have failed in this role. Here's what I'd tell you is every step of my journey, whether it's quality control, whether it was position coach, whether it was coordinator, I have found a way to change myself to be the best in that particular job. And so now that the job requirements are changing and I'm no longer just coaching an offensive player or an offensive unit, this is the entire team. And the good news is this, I am a football coach, so I will be able to change and adjust accordingly. The most important thing that we do here is we establish the culture that we want in this building in the springtime. Accountability and integrity, they're going to be cornerstones of this. Team first mentality is going to be critical for us. I already talked about the communication, the structure, the consistency. That's going to be felt by our players from day one all the way through the end of the season, okay? And at the end of the day, we are going to lean on a professional work ethic. We're going to learn how to be pros here in this building. We'll be deliberate and intentional with what we do, and then we'll get out of the building and off our feet.
Hey, Ben, Mark Rohde with The Score here in Chicago. Welcome to the city. You mentioned that this roster is loaded with talent. So then when you look back at the Bears season, you know, enduring a 10-game losing streak, does that surprise you that a team with this type of talent endured that? And how close do they not need to make that many changes going into this year?
Yeah, listen, we'll evaluate the whole roster. I have not watched all the tape, but I have a good feel from game planning against this defense and certainly seeing the crossover tape with the offense that I feel really confident about the current talent level already in the building. Going into this season, I felt like this place was a sleeping giant. To be honest with you, I personally was more concerned about the Chicago Bears than I was anybody else in this division. Now, there's a number of reasons why that did not unfold, all right, which that's why I'm here. I'll get to the bottom of that, and we'll see if we can't get that corrected and cleaned up. But I was very encouraged with what was already on the roster right here, and like I said before, this division, as hard as it is, really excited about competing here.
Was it just the changes that they made going into the offseason that scared you the most about the Bears? Was it Caleb Williams? Like, what was it about the Bears that they were the...
Well, personally, we struggled with that defense here for both games that we played them in 2023, okay? So that was a huge deal, was knowing that as much as I struggled staying up at night trying to attack this defense, I knew what that was capable of, and then seeing all the weapons that they have on offense here was really, really encouraging.
Coach Deion Miller, ABC 7 Chicago, welcome. We're glad that you're here. You had this opportunity a year ago to be a head coach. You chose not to. Why are you more prepared now for this job than you were a year ago?
Yeah, a year ago, honestly, it was a similar situation in terms of being ejected from the playoffs prematurely, how we saw it. And as my emotions got the better of me at that point, I decided quite early on that I wanted to come back and take another shot at that in Detroit. This year, this offseason, summer, I was able to do a lot more thinking and just throughout my head, my process, what it would look like as the head coach, and I just felt a lot more comfortable in terms of making that jump regardless of how the season ended in Detroit.
Ben, here to the right.
Yep.
Pat, the designer, ESPN 1000. When your predecessors came in a very similar situation that you have, quarterback already in place, having to come in kind of midway through, excuse me, this rebuild being done. What is it that you can bring to the table that will make this situation end in a different manner than what we've seen in previous situations?
Listen, I can't speak to the previous coaches that were here. All I can tell you is this: every step along the way, I already alluded to it, I found a way to excel in each job. So I'm deeply committed to finding a way to make this work. My core values really rest on work ethic, selflessness, and poise. And I expect that to be embodied within this team.
Ben, over here again, Courtney Cronin, ESPN. You interviewed for a couple other jobs this cycle. What specifically about Chicago tipped the scales in the Bears' favor in you landing here?
The people, point blank. The interview process was excellent for me, answered all the questions I was looking forward to, and not to mention the family atmosphere that they clearly outlined was a huge selling point as well.
Does having a quarterback, because there's some other teams that don't necessarily have their franchise guy, how heavy did that weigh specific to this opportunity for you?
Having a quarterback helps.
Ben, over here.
Yep.
John Greenberg from The Athletic. You've been in a lot of different offenses. You've worked for different kind of coaches. You seem to have a lot of different influences in what you believe in. Like, how would you describe what your offense is going to be about? You know, Caleb's different than Jared Goff. What would you describe to Bears fans what to expect from this offense?
Philosophically, what I believe in is similar to a blast from the past named John Shoup, and that is to make same things look different and different things look the same. All right? We want the defense on their heels. We're always going to be attacking on offense. We believe in multiplicity, and so that's both formationally and conceptually. We're going to make things very challenging on the defense each and every week. We want the ability to morph, whether it's 50 runs in a game or 50 passes in a game, it does not matter. Balance to me is throughout the entire season, not necessarily within the game. And with that being said, those are broad strokes of what this will look like. It's not going to look like it did in Detroit. We have a completely different personnel group than what we did in Detroit. So this entire offense is going to be predicated on the guys that we have available, and that's going to take the springtime as well as training camp to hone in to what that's going to look like.
Ben over here. Josh Buckalter, Clocker Sports. With all that you have on your plate offensively, how involved do you plan to be defensively, and do you foresee any sort of scheme change going forward?
Yeah, I think you have to, when you're the head coach, you have to be involved defensively. You have to be involved in special teams. That comes with the territory. And so when you talk about last year, why I went back to Detroit, part of the reason was I had not fully comprehended how to make that all work. I'm at a much better space right now in terms of time management, how I can be involved with all three phases. The whole key to this is being able to tie them together, play complementary football. And so I will be heavily involved both defensively and in special teams as much as offense. It's going to be critical that I hire people that have some experience here in this league and I can lean on and I can trust. Defensively, there are a number of guys I want to talk to, and really it'll be predicated on who we decide to go with, what that defense is going to look like.
Hey, Ben. Kevin Fishbane from The Athletic. Ryan talked to us about how the quarterback development plan was going to be a big part of interviews and talking to coaches about what the plan is. How would you kind of characterize what your vision would be for helping get a quarterback to where he needs to be?
I think it's time on task. It's trust. I've already talked to Caleb. We're going to have to spend a lot of time together. The play caller and the quarterback have to be integrated. The quarterback needs to be able to see the game through the play caller's eyes. In my opinion, that's the only way it works. And so we're going to spend a lot of time together this springtime. Certainly during training camp, we'll be able to see how much headway we can make. But there's already things I've talked to him about that I've noticed in his game that I want to address and I want to go ahead and take a look at early and often here.
Ben, as you acknowledge the difference between a coordinator role and the head coaching duties, what gives you the greatest confidence in your leadership skills for this role?
Yeah, that's a great question. And here's what I would tell you, is what gives me confidence is the players that I was just with and the respect level that they had for me, along with the people that I trusted in that building who would come up to me time and time again and assure me, I'm ready. Chris Spielman, Mark Burnell, the people that were with me, saw me in front of the room, saw me in the meeting room. They believe in me. I believe in myself. I'm ready for this next challenge.
You used the word accountability a little bit ago. That was a word that the players used a lot this past season in this building. What does that look like to you? How do you define accountability under your watch?
Yeah, accountability is really, we're going to do what we say we're going to do, and we're going to be who we say we're going to be. And if we fall short of that standard, then there has to be consequences to that. That can look a number of different ways, but we are going to get to the point when we are winning here where our veteran players are going to take over the accountability portion of it. Until we get there, though, it's going to be on us as the coaching staff to outline what it should look like, what a Chicago Bear is going to look like, what that professional work ethic is going to look like.
Ben, Andy Seligman, AP. Do you plan to call plays on offense?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Along those lines, what characteristics then are you going to be looking for in an offensive coordinator?
It's going to be critical for me to find somebody that can organize and structure and set the table, particularly early in the week. I've been around a number of guys that have called plays in the past, and I've seen the potential pitfalls that could arise as you're coaching the entire football team and you can't get to watching as much tape early in the week as you possibly could. So it's going to, the offensive coordinator position is going to have to be somebody that not only I trust, but will be extremely detail-oriented, organized, and structured to set the table, and also willing to work late nights.
Ben, Pat at the Chicago Sun-Times again. When we talked to Ryan Poles a couple weeks ago, he talked about, hey, if I'm going to bring in a guy who hasn't been a head coach before, there's a value in him bringing in experience or people who have head coaching experience as assistant coaches. Do you have a plan for that? And how do you know, kind of big picture, how do you kind of know what you don't know, when you move up a chair?
Yeah, there's no question that experience, whether it's coordinators or elsewhere within the coaching staff, will be important to me. And that's why I look forward here after we get through this initial madness, if you will, we can get going on the coaching staff. That's going to be a critical part of our success. I really believe that we're going to be able to find some great candidates out there that want to come to Chicago for a number of reasons, but they will be able to help guide and show me the way. The good news is this, is I'm not coming necessarily from a program that has solely won for the last 10 years. What I've seen in my time in the NFL, 7 years in Miami, 6 years in Detroit, is as much not good as I've seen good. And so there are a number of things that I've experienced and I've seen that should help throw the red flag up and help me avoid those potential pitfalls.
Ben, over to your right. Nicholas Moriano, the Bigs. One of the things expressed last year by the players that they wanted someone that can enforce discipline in their head coach. How have you enforced discipline in the past, and how can you implement that here?
Yeah, it looks a number of different ways. I think the most important thing, and I've already alluded to it a couple times now, is clear communication and structure and expectation. And that's really what we're going to outline. We will set the standard in terms of what it looks like, what it should look like, what it shouldn't look like. Anytime it's not hitting that standard and that mark, it'll be on us as the coaching staff to call guys out, and repeat offenders will have to continue to be made an example of.
Ben, to your left.
Yeah.
The stumble bum play that you hit the Bears with.
Did you like that one?
It was clever.
That was a Matt LaFleur special.
Was that the start of your job interview here, or were you just showing off?
I don't know about that.
Did you think about that at all, coaching that game here, when the job was open at the time, that this was a chance for you to make a big impression?
I think every day in the NFL is a chance to make an impression. We are very blessed to have these jobs as coaches and as players. It's not something that I take lightly. And I think we have an obligation to each other and to the game to max ourselves out each and every day.
Yep. Hey, Ben, over to your right. Josh Friedman with WGN TV. Congrats, and you said your mission statement is to win and win now. Do you believe this is a multi-year process, though, to get back to a playoff caliber team, or can that happen in 2025?
There's no question it can happen in 2025. It depends on how hard we're willing to work and how much we're willing to sacrifice, though.
Hey, Ben, Adam Hogue again from CHGO. It was a little surprising that you took this job so fast without coming here first. Why did you feel so confident that you didn't need to see the building or see anybody face-to-face in person? And then once you got here, other than the people, because you've already spoken on that, what stood out to you the most?
Yeah, the information was given to me from any interested party, what it would look like. It was very detailed, it was thorough. It did not take me long, particularly with that first interview in the back of my head. I've already been in this city. I know what this city's about. It just simply did not take me a long time to decide that this is where I wanted to be, I wanted my family to be, and these were the people I wanted to be around. Walking in this building yesterday gave me goosebumps. I don't think many people understand how set up for success this place already is. This facility is outstanding. It is an A-plus facility, and I look forward to meeting all the people within this facility and getting to work.
Thank you, guys. We'll have a
Thank you.